Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is the beginning of a teaching series. I tell you this because this particular teaching will be available to all, as all of the channelings are, but so that you know the order of things and what we're going to do. It is something that I've wished to do for some time. I have a story to tell you. And some of you who have been with me for a very long time and know the energy that I represent, know that I am indeed in love with humanity. And as I say, for good reason. Something is happening on this planet. This is something that was always the potential, dear ones, always. The reason I'm here. I'm here giving loving messages to you, not just of hope, but messages that say, this is something that is expected, and it's here. And that something is called evolutionary consciousness. And an evolutionary consciousness will bring with it the evolution of you, your soul, what you can do, how you feel, and a changing planet. For years, we have told you that this evolutionary consciousness of yours, a consciousness which is going to become more kind, a consciousness which is eventually going to change almost everything you do and how you do it. This consciousness comes with something else, a reaction by those who don't want it, who see the light on this planet as something horrible and awful because it will disrupt everything that they're doing. These are the ones who are invested in the dark consciousness, a non-evolved consciousness, the consciousness of corruption and negativity, and all the things that have been the stipend, you might say, of consciousness with humanity forever, for years. This is a paradigm shift. It's a change in actual human nature. Do you think that's possible? You're seeing it already. You take a look at that which is happening on the planet in these times, and there's two reactions, basically. A polarization of attitude with humans. The ones who are starting to awaken as old souls and have expected change. And these will look at it and go, finally, it is here. I recognize it. I am part of it. I'll do everything I can to learn more. And the other reaction is those who awaken and are afraid of it. And because it seems to stir up old energy and even has perhaps caused a war, which you thought you were done with, it's frightening. It's frightening in so many areas of those who want to establish their human rights, that they matter, and watching the pushback of even the most intelligent principles, you might say, that are so self-evident that you deserve to be here and respected. And there are those who will push back on that and say, no, you don't, because of this or that, because the culture doesn't allow it, or perhaps even that the spiritual system doesn't allow it. And that's when you start to question the spiritual system, or even the cultural rules. And you begin to ask the questions that have never been asked before, or if they have, it's been very quiet. And the question is this correct? Should there be something bigger, perhaps, that I wasn't told? Is it time for everyone to think differently and for the sun to come out and illuminate human nature and humanity itself with something new? Indeed, this is new, and it comes with new attitudes and new things. I'm going to even go so far. It comes with new tools. It does. Evolutionary tools. You're going to see this taught by those teachers of the day. New ways of doing things. This particular channel is a review if you've heard me before. If you haven't, it might not be a review. It might be startling. It might be controversial, because I will give you the first tool. There are many tools. There are 12 main ones, and I'm going to expose at least 8 of them. And there are some that have to be recognized first in order to then evolve to understand the next ones. The circle of 12, in a few moments, will take you to a new room where those tools will be stacked up and ready for you to take and explained even better than I am now. The first tool that is new that I'm going to say to you is extremely controversial is one that I talked about now for more than 30 years. It's primary. And that's what makes it controversial. It's part of belief systems that we are changing. Dear one, it's time to understand that when you evolve in consciousness, certain kinds of old energy processes can go away, can be put on the shelf because you're done with them. And one of them is called karma. You heard it. What is karma? I have told you before, it's an energy that is within you based upon your past and those of your ancestors' past, sometimes based on even your cultural past, that pushes you to do things. Some of it is very simple to see, where you'll be in neighborhoods where policemen become policemen and their children become policemen, and the whole neighborhood is known for that, or firemen, or doctors, or nurses. It's karmically there, and the children feel it growing up and naturally simply go for it again because they were before. And the karmic family is one who then will foster that. It's a very interesting thing to watch, karma. Karma also represents unfinished business, not just a continuation of an energy, but something perhaps you didn't finish the first time. You come into the planet and you're pushed into a place that will help you then finish it. There is a reason in an old energy for karma, because it pushes and pulls you around naturally, intuitively, to places perhaps you need to be in order for things to happen for you that you need. Suddenly, an evolved consciousness releases anything that might push or pull you and puts you in charge completely without another energy interfering. You might say karma was needed when a consciousness was a lower consciousness and not as evolved, not as eloquent. And now suddenly there's a sophistication and eloquence and intelligence that you start to realize, I can do anything. I don't need the karma to push and pull me around. In fact, it's in the way. I don't need it. And you'll be right. You don't. And so we say to all of you listening now, it's time to drop it. Now, it doesn't simply go away because you showed up. It goes away as a tool of droppage, if you wish. And that means this: you actively get rid of it. Otherwise, it'll simply stay there, assuming that you don't have intent to clear it. But you do, and you might be hearing about it right now. Sometimes, dear ones, the very awakening to this new energy, the very acknowledging of who you are and the evolvement that's taking place, sometimes that automatically clears it and it's gone. And you realize, I am not going to be pushed and pulled around by any past experience, because this is a new me. This soul of mine has come in enlightened, and my path is my own, and I will create what I wish without an interfering energy of karma. And then it goes away. But some of you are just finding out about this, and you may be facing questions. Why is this happening to me? Why do I always go here and do this? Why is this always pressing on me? Is that you? Well, it's time to do something that I'll tell you about right now. It's easy, and it works. Dear Spirit, I recognize an awakening in me, a freedom of my soul, an advancement in my light, an evolution in my consciousness. I hereby drop all energies that don't belong. And that includes past karmas that might have pushed me into areas that are now inappropriate for my life, and instead, I am in control of my future. I will visualize the things that will happen on my path, and it will not be some energy of completion or something that I have done in the past that needs to be done again. For I'm now on a new track, a new future. The light is shining, and it never did before. I hereby drop my karma. Oh, is it that simple? It is. Because that energy will listen to the mastery within you, old soul. You're not asking for anything. You are making a statement as a master, and it happens. We'll talk more about this new tool a little later in this program. Understand your mastery, dear one. This belongs to you, part of you. I am Kryon, in love with humanity. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There have been some that would say, why Kryon now? Why is it so important that the focus has moved a little bit from that which you've been teaching in the past to something so specific, which we would then label to you as a healing time? The healing word means so much. There are so many things that you can improve, and we call that healing. Why now? What is the difference? And we will tell you this, that the ones who listen to this particular message in this particular fashion, that's you right now. You're special. And what I mean by special is that you're an old soul. You're special because you have gone through so much, so many lives, in order to get to this place in this year, with what's going on this planet right now. You won't find many listening to this who are not old souls. That's a double negative, I know. Old souls are the ones who are interested in this information. And the healing and the reason we focus on this is because we need you. We collectively, all of those on the other side of the veil, you might even say the angels, are looking to you to live longer, to be joyful, to understand things perhaps you've never understood before, the power that you have inside to control your own reality, to work with your own cellular structure, to do the things that perhaps you've never been told you could do. This is why we need you to stay. It doesn't make sense, dear ones, that you will follow that which perhaps you've been told and you'll live a short lifetime or have a disease that will have you pass sooner than you should, or the should being that you need to. We need you here. The focus is on healing, not only to extend your life, dear ones, but to make a life for you as you are here that is more comfortable so your health is better. Do you understand? This is why the focus is on healing. These many months ago, and I told my partner, you're going to do this, and this is the new focus. He didn't know where it would go. Now he is more familiar, and he himself is starting to understand and feel the profundity, the importance of speaking to you. How do you feel on what I've just said to you? Do you feel that you're included? You should. I know who's watching. I know who's watching now. I know who's watching later. When your eyes and your ears turn upon this particular message, no matter when it is given, I know you're watching. This is because I represent a multidimensionality that is the same one of spirit. It's an angelic reality, dear ones. What has no time to it, not as yours does. We know who you are. The lesson for today is about this new, I would say, perception, this new paradigm that we speak of. And one of the issues that you all have is because of how you are trained to believe. When I say trained, I mean this. If you could define training, it would be something that you have repeated over and over to you. Whether it is in a session you go to or something is casual, but you hear the same thing so many times that you are trained in it, and it becomes a reality that is yours to understand, to believe in, to expect. And when that training starts to fall apart because we give you other things that go against it, then we have an issue. The issue is one of disbelief. Can this really be true? Because of all my training. Some training becomes so stuck, such a reality to some people, that when they start to hear something else, anything else, from what they've been trained to, they turn away. This is happening all around us, all around you. It happens in front of your eyes, and perhaps you don't even see it. When you find out a truth that perhaps is different from another person, and you'll show them the truth and even show them proof of the truth, and they will look at you and say, "I'm sorry," and walk away, because they have been trained in their own truth. Even though you show them perhaps there's something else to look at, just perhaps, but they won't. Even the old soul, dear ones, is involved in this particular attribute. What is it you're trained in that I want to talk about right now? You might think it's not a bad thing to be trained in. It's the majesty of God. The majesty, the overwhelming power, beauty, love, if you want to call it, power of the Almighty. And where am I going with this? Because when it comes to healing, what have you been trained? Talk to me. What have you been trained? And the training goes like this. I don't do the healing, God does. The training goes like this. Let go and let God. The training has you release all responsibility for everything and hand it over to this almighty power of love, beauty. You'd say, well, what's wrong with that? Dear ones, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that the process at this point in time is not the correct one. Sure, there are times to let go and let God. But dear ones, when it comes to healing, that's different. What's next? You go through the healing circle, you're introduced every time to a multi-dimensional attribute of possibilities. And I say possibilities because even that goes against a perception that you're trained in. The training is what I can touch and feel is real and what I cannot is not. Therefore, if you take me into a place I cannot touch and feel, it doesn't exist. And so on, so on. Do you see how the training can stick you into a place, perhaps even to sitting in a chair that says, here's what I believe, here's what I don't believe, good luck. And that's it. It's very difficult for us to give you anything more than you're willing to receive. Are you willing to receive something different right now? Do you give intent in this channeling to receive something different? And I want to tell you something, that if you are going to participate in the healing of any kind, the healing of your past memories, the healing of fear, the healing of disease, the healing of your body clock to slow it down, the healing of aging. Now that's an odd thing. You'd say, well, you age and what you cannot unage. You might say, how do you heal that? Dear ones, you're not getting it. Did you realize your body clock is something you control? So don't let the numbers that are assigned with your age tell you how old you are on this planet or how you should behave, or perhaps you're listening to certain advertisements on the television that tell you how old you are and just how infirm you must be. That is not a reality. The reality is this: you control your aging. That's the reality. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The heartfelt messages of Adironda continue and spill into these things which I love to speak of. My partner sits in this chair, so aware the love that is in the room presses on all of you if you wish to receive it. Free choice is this way. And we've talked about that so many times, that there may be in the room, flying around, ideas, inventions. The field has them all, potentials. But if the human is not tuned in to receive them, they just stay where they are. Free choice means that love is not pushed at you. But dear ones, there are a few things that I want to talk about. We'll call this of the journey of the human soul, the beauty of the soul of a human, and all the things that go into it before it ever comes into this earth. Most would think that some decisions are made way in advance of your family. For instance, you come in with whom and how, and with certain ideas and energies. But that's not so. It's almost always instantaneous with your arrival. Things happen, dear ones, even in the 9 months or so that you're carried before this. And then the question is, of course, when is the soul a soul? And we've answered that before. Just to make the demarcation point clear, it has nothing to do with biology. It has nothing to do with where you define life. It is the first breath you take. That is when you're part of the planet. You breathe in that which Gaia has given to you, and now you're alighted with the civilization. That is the wind of birth, not pregnancy. That is when you arrive. And that first breath, you're on your way. And we spoke of that yesterday, all the things that went into that, the beauty, the majesty, if you wish, of the soul, the complexity. But then some of the questions that want to be answered about after you're here. And I want to deal just with a couple of them, because there are light workers who will ask and ask because they want the minutia of how it works. What happens? What if? These are things we'd rather not discuss because it is impossible to compartmentalize things which don't belong in compartments. It's the human brain that wants to operate a certain way to be comfortable. But there are esoteric things that go on that may not seem logical, but they come from a higher purpose. We've told you that you have free choice and that you decide in advance so many things. You come into the earth and then you start working the puzzle. We told you that the working of the puzzle has such free choice that you can void contracts and forget your karma and remember the things or not that are there. We've told you that consciousness and the DNA that remembers things is often dependent upon the civilization. In the past, we've mentioned that you may only be working at 30 or 35% in your DNA of 100% potential of consciousness. That's where you are today. And that it has started to increase, and we've mentioned that, and that changes what you remember. That changes the very things that were placed into your soul before you got here that are now starting to be available. We've told you that. But now let me tell you things we never told you. The things that are often asked. A human has free choice, and yet there may be an overlaying spiritual contract. Not a contract, but a yod. That would mean something that pushes you toward a goal. You don't have to do it, but oh, it's there. And it pushes you to be something or become something or do something, and you feel it. Different than karma, much. Different from anything that would be a contract. It's a feeling. But what if there's an evolvement of consciousness, or something happens on the planet that would then guide you in a different way? Question: does spirit ever interfere with free choice? Now, based upon everything I've said before, you might think the answer is, of course not. You have free choice. Let me say this. Spirit kind of pushes you sometime in certain directions, or perhaps stops you sometimes in certain directions. Now, you have free choice to pick yourself up and go at it again, or not. But every so often, that beautiful hand of Spirit who loves you so much will change things. In that free choice playing field, you still have it, but things happen around you that may very well change your path. And many of you know this is so. And so you might say that the free choice that we have talked about comes also with the love of God, especially if you're developing a higher consciousness and you're starting to look around at yourself and asking the questions, who am I? What should I do? What's going on? I use my partner one more time, yet again, in this example, because you're looking at the man in the chair channeling Kryon. Based upon everything that he was born with, all of these things, he had what is called a yod. That is a word we use where it's an overwhelming propensity to go and do something. Artists have it, musicians have it, seeming born with it. He was neither of those. But my partner came from past lives which were military. And everything he wanted to do was to get back in the service. Even before high school, he went and was put in 3 years of military, a school for young men. When he got out of that, he went into high school, into that which was an ROTC service, so he could become an officer. Everything he did was to put him back in that uniform. It was the time you call Vietnam. They were starting to draft. He was right on schedule, right on time for his yod, for what he thought he was going to do. And he reported for service. Something in his blood work said that he needed an X-ray because things weren't exactly correct. And that's when they discovered a missing kidney. He has one. I'm winking now at my partner, for they would not take him. And for some time he thought that everything he had wanted was not going to happen. They weren't going to take him. He settled into other things. The rest is history. But this was intervention. He did not know that he had one kidney until that moment in time. He could have instead done other things which were military-like and chose not to. Some of his friends did not come back from that battle. And he stayed. Years and years later, I came to him, and he's told the story many times. He asked me one time when he was in the shower, where he talks to me, and he said, if I had not done this, if I had not said yes, if I'd not done, would there be a Kryon? And I'm not sure he liked the answer, because I said, if you hadn't done it, there were many who would. There are many ready to do this, to take on that mantle. They stand in line, my friend, I told him. This is an example of an intervention that did not interrupt the free choice of the man, but changed his future. Many of you have this. When you start to give intent, dear Spirit, show me what it is I'm to do. Are you ready for a change? Are you ready to have something get in the way of what you thought you would do? Are you ready for something to be there that would actually stop you, perhaps? Or maybe advance you into something else you didn't think you wanted? All that comes with the free choice of intent that says, show me, show me, show me. Now, my partner didn't do any of that, and yet he got it. That's complex. You see, my partner is on a multiple life scenario, and that's the next thing to talk about. This idea that you're going to accomplish something on this planet with your soul, that you come down with free choice and move in that direction, is what we've been teaching all along. With free choice, so many of you listening to this have arrived at this place to hear these words, understand that you're awakening into truth. Beautiful, sacred truth that doesn't violate any other thing that others may have told you about love or compassion or integrity. What if it wasn't one lifetime? What if you have a schedule of many to do the same one thing? Now, I haven't broached this before, but suddenly now my partner is with you because he's not heard this either. And he starts to understand why I've told him multiple times what his next lifetime will be. And at the beginning he thought, well, this is a plan from Spirit. It isn't, it's his. But it's a multiple life plan. What if he does not do certain kinds of things in certain ways? It's still a multiple life plan. I've told my partner that the next time he comes in, he changes karmic groups, keeps the same gender, and continues in another part of the earth. And we've told him what it is before. Is that all there is? Are there other arrangements like that? Yes. Now we'll give you the rest of the story. Love is beautiful. And humans have it. You have it for one another. You have it for your children. Animals respond to it. It's palpable. It's one of the most beautiful energies, and it isn't an emotion, it's an energy. It's an energy that's unexplainable in so many times and ways. It goes beyond any kind of chemistry that you might have. So love becomes one of the most important catalysts for efficiency on the planet. Those who stay in love with whatever or whomever and have a compassion for these things will be far better off, more balanced, more efficient to get the things done. And that includes those who love God so much that this is your focus. Have you ever heard of soulmates? Is it possible, Kryon, that you could have arrangements with soulmates right now, partners? Sometimes it's brother and sister. Most of the time, it is not. It can be the same gender. Love is love. But you have an agreement, and you know it. And you know it so strongly when you meet that one and you spend a lifetime with that one, or even perhaps a part of that lifetime with that one. Question: can you continue it the next lifetime? Will you meet him again? Do you know what the answer is? Yes. It is like you are planning it with the other one at the wind of birth. You're winking at each other. Here it comes again. It's going to work again, just like it did before. And together, we'll accomplish great things. I'm giving you a love story right now because God loves you.
and sees these things as correct and proper, efficient and right. And you can do these things outside of the norm that says you come in and you're tested with energies of light and dark and you do your best. What if there's more? You start to give intent for things, and you're actually rearranging that which you thought was lucky into things which are synchronicity, and you meet the right people and you move forward. Outside of the purview, what anyone would believe you could do, you're doing it. Is it possible for multi-life scenarios with the same partner or brother or sister or someone you love, so that you can continue this, which is so beautiful today? And the answer is yes. Oh, yes. And it is done all the time. Now, for those of you who are saying, that's good news, I wonder how that's going to apply to me. I'll tell you, for some of you, it already has. You're with the person from the last lifetime. Don't you recognize it? You're with a sister or a brother from the last lifetime. Don't you recognize it? There's a bond. Where did it come from? How could it be so strong? Usually between two individuals. Doesn't matter how old, but the bond is from a past life. You're continuing a scenario of multiple life plans. This is what I wanted to give you that's different than you thought. That's how magnificent you are. In this new energy, there is more planning than ever before, because you're going to have love in your life. There's so much more I could say, and it's for this group. We're even talking about those you've loved and lost for a while. These are complex times to speak of these things, for they then come up with so many what ifs. How does this work? What if this happens? What if that happens? And the answer is yes. We always say that. The answer is that it's a multi-dimensional, beautiful scenario of activity. It's not by chance. And that's because the love of God and the compassion of the Creator is part of your soul. You are creating these things as you go in a beauty that you are developing. Maybe you didn't even know you had. Finally in life, the flower starts to bloom inside that you knew was always there, but had always been suppressed. In this energy, it's time to start the garden. And that's all for now. And so it is.